Welcome back, Canonites. It's a damn good time to be a Halo fan, wouldn't you say? A new Inside Infinite, a new MCC flight, Point of Light coming out on Tuesday, and now we've been gifted a new Canon Fodder article going over a ton of upcoming content. Even if one of these things doesn't have you hyped, there's plenty more to latch onto. But enough with the general talk, let's dive into this latest issue. Starting things off, we get a preview of some of the new armor pieces coming to future seasons of MCC, and damn is this first part a surprise. There are certainly more Halo Online armors coming, and we'll get to those in a bit. But the big surprise today are the armors of ODST Fireteam Raven coming to the collection. That's right, you'll be able to deck your Spartan out like a proper ODST in Halo 3 with several roles to choose from. ODST Tech, the ensemble of choice when you need to stomp the Covenant, but on a budget. First up, we have the ODST Tactical Armor, the set worn by Fireteam Raven leader Ethan Graves. This armor is about the closest you'll get to default ODST armor, so to speak, though the helmet is more reminiscent of the Halo 5 Helljumper helmet, something I never really noticed in the Fireteam Raven arcade game. ODST Demo. Obstacles to progress are measured by the number of satchel charges they rate. Next up, we have the ODST Demolition Armor set, the armor worn by Raven's own explosives and demolitions expert, Ava Lang. I won't lie, it's a little odd how lightly armored Ava is given her role, especially compared to Alpha 9's resident demo man, Mickey. ODST Comm, the ensemble for an ODST that wants to reach out and touch someone with artillery and artillery support. After that, we have the ODST Communications Armor, the same set worn by Marcus Hudson, Raven's recon and comms man. You can tell he's the comms guy because he has an antenna on his helmet. But in all seriousness, the artillery mentioned in the description is rather interesting. If you didn't know what that means, don't worry, neither did I until I looked it up. Artillery refers to kinetic bombardment, aka dropping an inert projectile from orbit, the destruction coming from the kinetic energy of the projectile hitting the ground at high speeds. Basically, think of a Mac cannon minus the magnetic acceleration, at least I think. Regardless, I do believe this is the first time we've heard of the UNSC having these sorts of weapons at their disposal. I think it makes sense, there's not a whole lot of surprise, but it's cool to hear that. I'd love to see this in a book or comic too. ODST Heavy. As they say during ODST screening, the best defense is an overwhelming offense. And finally, we have the ODST Heavy Armor once worn by Victor Ramos, Raven's heavy weapons and support man. Not much else to say, but if you want a bulky looking Spartan, this is the armor for you. It's great to see these armors brought to Halo 3 like this, and damn do they look good in game. What I find particularly interesting is that the leg armor actually covers the normal Spartan undersuit, so you can really make your Spartan into an ODST, more so than any time before. In addition, the next season of MCC will be introducing new backpack attachments, basically expanding on the katana attachment that Hayabusa introduced. Among some awesome non-lore options, such as the legendary symbol itself, the backpacks of the aforementioned Fireteam Raven armor kits will be included. The Tactical Package, an all-purpose hardened storage perfect for providing diverse loadout options while out in the field. The Demolitions Pack, a one-stop shop for your frontline combat engineer, providing exactly the right tools to reach any enemy fortification. Mickey Crespo himself would be proud. The Communications Pack. This battle network relay provides the user with a multi-channel secure network uplink. The case meets or exceeds all UNSC mil-spec standards for temperature, impact, moisture, vibration, and foreign particle resistance. And the Ammo Pack. Keep the party going with additional ammunition reserves and a backup knife. In field situations, packs such as these extend the duration of combat excursions and reduce the need for supply drops, but in training environments, they have no effect. There's not a ton to dive into with each pack, they do what they say on the label, and it's great to have even more customization options. Although I do enjoy the last line for the ammo pack description, noting that it's basically useless in training simulations. That got a chuckle. But that covers the Fireteam Raven armors. It's so cool to see these sets brought over to Halo 3. It's one thing to recycle armor from another FPS Halo title, especially one using a modified Halo 3 engine, but quite another to bring over assets from an arcade title, assets that in no way were intended to be used like this. Bravo 343, bravo! Now, I just hope that we can get an at-home version of Fireteam Raven someday. From there though, let's take a look at some of the new Halo Online armors coming to the game. First up is Infiltrator. Experimental intrusion suites developed by Anvil collaboration teams can be quickly applied to cross-generational platforms. This is another armor that would see final production with Gen 2. The shoulder pauldrons and helmet are pretty similar to the final design to a pretty decent degree, but the rest of the armor is fairly different from its final design. And of course, unlike said final design, this one has lights running up and down its surface. In the original Halo Online, these lines were animated, but don't appear to be in Halo 3. I hope we can eventually get some detail on what all these lines are supposed to do, because it's hard to imagine them helping a Spartan wanting to infiltrate something. Moving more into the lore though, the Infiltrator armor is manufactured by Hannibal Weapon Systems and would be tested in the WG/Facility 90-00/Kotka, a location in Kotka Pori on the planet New Carthage. It would also see action in the orbital battle cluster above New Carthage, where Spartans would be jettisoned from high orbit and forced to use re-entry packs to reach heavily protected weapon platforms. In Halo Online, this armor set was known as Saboteur. Next we have Gnome Dagro. The assistants of Anvil Station Sangheili lorekeepers in deciphering data recovered from ancient vessels have provided unprecedented opportunities for advancement. This one is fairly interesting lore-wise. This set seems to have been based on a Forerunner armor set not unlike the Prefect armor from Halo 4. The name of the armor is actually a Forerunner world, the home of the Didact and the Librarian back when they had a family, and the armor looks like it might have been based on the ISO Didact's armor that appeared in Halo Legends Origins Part 1, at least I think. That's the only armor I've been able to find that kind of looks like this. Overall, it's a really damn cool armor set. We then have Hammerhead. Some Mjolnir prototypes being tested on Anvil Station are being evaluated for use in exotic atmospheres and irradiated environments. This armor was Commando during the Halo Online beta, and funny enough, it was known as Hammerhead before that. Design-wise, the helmet has drawn some quick comparisons to Seeker from among the community, and I think it's easy to see why. In lore, the armor is being developed for exotic atmospheres and irradiated environments, a role that would, again, be covered by Hazop armor in Gen 2's final form. After that, we have COS. Anvil Cyber Operations Specialists use this chassis to mount experimental counter-intrusion modules. The interesting thing about this set is its resemblance to the Gen 2 Gungnir armor. The only major difference is the helmet, which is basically the Gen 2 Gungnir without the normal face covering. I hope we get some more details down the line about the connections between this and Gungnir, because there has to be one there. In Halo Online, this was known as, and I'm gonna butcher this, Khalidbolg or Chalg. These, named for a legendary sword from Irish mythology, and originally meant as a technology demonstrator rather than a suit intended for mass production. Interestingly, it seems to still be something of a technology demonstrator, though a testbed might be a better term to use. Finally, we have Lancer. Data gleaned from millennia-old war constructs have been carefully integrated into select components for Anvil testing. Known as Scepter armor during Halo Online, the Lancer is yet another armor using data, seemingly from the Forerunners, to build new Mjolnir armor sets, representing the integration of Forerunner technology after the end of the Human Covenant War. As before, I'm not a fan of all the designs present, but I'm loving the juicy new lore here. But in addition to these armor sets, we get previews of 2 new maps being ported over to Halo 3 from Halo Online. First up is Waterfall, a UNSC holdfast constructed during the final years of the Covenant War, one of many, seemingly yet another backup plan for the UNSC should Earth have fallen. Built on a far-flung world in the Zezar system, this and other holdfasts have been maintained even after the war, should key personnel and assets need a secret fallback location. The facility known as Waterfall in particular is also being used to probe the planet's icy surface and study peculiar findings on the planet's nearby moons. There's not much else to say here, as it's all entirely new lore. Zezar has never previously been mentioned, nor has this particular version of a UNSC fallback plan. Next up we have Edge, a map I have fond memories playing on in El Dorado. Set on the remote frontier world of Partition, the same planet that the map Exile is set on, Edge is a massive Forerunner data archive, one whose secrets could advance UNSC understanding of Forerunner technology to untold heights. One can't help but wonder if this archive would have ever been discovered had the UNSC Daitochi not crashed there. That's the shipwreck on Exile, by the way. The new maps of Halo Online were a ton of fun, and I'm glad they're seeing new life in MCC. I hope we get more lore on them though, because, you know, I love my lore. Closing out this latest issue is the news that has me most excited, a new book from the now legendary Troy Denning, Halo Divine Wind. Fans were actually able to dig this up a while back, finding it listed as an untitled Halo novel on the Simon & Schuster website. There was much speculation and hope from myself and others that it might be something from a new author, but alas, 'twas not meant to be. I'm excited for another Denning novel, don't get me wrong, but I would also like to see some other authors, both new and returning. Like, I'd really like to see John Shirley get the chance to write again. But anyway, onto the book itself. No description has been released as of yet, but we can take a look at the cover for clues, and we have a few hints at some plot details thanks to Halo Shadows of Reach. So, if you haven't read that book yet, we're going to be diving into some spoilers, so best to click out of the video now, because this is pretty much the rest of it. We good? Okay. For those of you still there, you'll recall that, at the end of Shadows of Reach, it was revealed that Veda Lopez and her Ferret Squad, comprised of Ash G099, Mark G313, and Olivia G291, who had been missing for 2 years by that time, had in fact infiltrated the Keepers of the One Freedom. They and several other Keeper troops, including the last Dokab, Caster, and a new convert, Inslan Godagai, used a portal to travel to the Ark. Halo Divine Wind will follow up on those events. On the cover, we can see what would presumably be the sandy landscape of the Ark, and what could be a banished Lich, the one the Keepers would have used to travel through the portal to the Ark. And of course, we have the 4 characters here. Front and center is Veda Lopez, still rocking the hairstyle we first saw on the cover of Halo Retribution, and wearing partial ODST armor. To the right is presumably the last Dokab himself, Caster in full banished armor, though not without some hints of Keeper colors here and there, the gold especially standing out, and holding a Ravager, the new banished rifle. And to the left is an elite in a brown tunic. Presumably this elite is the former Silent Shadow assassin that joined the Keepers at the end of Shadows of Reach, Inslan Godagai. While the reuse of the H2A Arbiter model here is a little distracting, it's cool to see an elite not wearing armor. In the background, we see a tall, slim figure with a double-edged energy blade and purple armor. We can see this being appears to only have 3 visible fingers, which likely means this is a prelate, a Sanshayum warrior. A prelate previously featured in the short story Halo Shadow of Intent, though he died in that story, so this is someone new. It'll be interesting to see what kind of role this character takes, what kind of backstory he sports, and moreover, what side he's on. Overall, I can't wait for this book. We're back on the Ark after Halo Wars 2, meaning we could get some follow-up to that game and some of its dangling plot threads. We may see characters from that game such as Jerome, Cutter, Isabel, or Let Valir on the Banished side, along with other Banished leaders and characters. I'm especially excited to actually see Caster's reaction to getting to the Ark and what he does once there. Seeing as he betrayed Atriox, no one was supposed to come back through the portal when Atriox left, so any remaining Banished on the Ark would know that the Keepers were no longer allies. It'll be interesting to see what Caster does in the face of the conflict already present at the Ark. I'm curious too if we may get any follow-up on the fates of Voridus and Pavium, given their colossal blunder in awakening the Nightmare. And above all, I'm hoping we find out when and why Veda and the Ferrets infiltrated the Keepers. In Shadows of Reach, it's noted by Caster that the 4 humans, who he doesn't seem to know once actively fought against his interests, were sent to him by the Oracle, referring of course to the Archeon-class Ancilla Intrepid Eye. Eye's goals since the end of Halo Last Light have been to prepare humanity for taking on the mantle of responsibility, though she isn't just about to let them have it free of cost. There are some very interesting plot threads for Mr. Denning to weave. Lastly, the title, Divine Wind, is a reference to the firing of the Halo array in the Covenant religion.
Halo, its divine wind will rush through the stars, propelling all who are worthy along the path to salvation.
The same religion the Keepers of the One Freedom follow, though with some minor changes such as allowing humans to join. Castor will certainly attempt to start the great journey, and while we can say for sure that he doesn't succeed, it'll be interesting to see if he realizes the truth about the Halo rings and how he reacts to that truth. Now, all that said, I do still have my reservations. With Halo Wars 3 nowhere on the horizon, I do feel that 343 is going to use external media to resolve the conflict before its storyline eventually fully integrates with the main storyline that'll be introduced in Halo Infinite. Divine Wind is almost certainly part of that goal. In addition, I can't get over this nagging worry in the back of my mind about Blue Team showing up, as they have with all previous Ferret novels. To be clear, I'm worried that 343 is going to use this book as an opportunity to split Blue Team from the Master Chief to explain why Blue Team isn't present in Halo Infinite, as I'm still assuming they'll be absent. I sincerely hope I'm wrong, as I can't imagine any good reason to send Fred, Kelly, and Linda to the Ark while John remains with Infinity or in the galaxy or something. But we'll have to wait and see. So, who's excited for the new armor sets in MCC? And how about Halo Divine Wind? Leave your comments below as usual, along with any predictions you have for the book. I look forward to reading those. Until next time though, this has been Halo Canon. Hey y'all, thanks again for checking out this video. I really hope you liked it. If you did, consider subscribing and maybe even hitting that notification bell. I deeply appreciate it and it helps out the channel. But regardless of your decision, thanks for watching, keep on being awesome, and stay tuned, Canonites.